Does reverse psychology work on littles?
Not when we do regression psychology.
Oh God, this has already gotten so deep.
Do you have your notes?
Yes.
Are you getting smarter?
Oh baby, am I? Oh baby, get it? I'm just looking at my notes real quick. I'm reading. Because notes.
Doesn't really know anything.
How dare you?
I know everything. It's all in here.
Ready?
Yep.
I'll take that as a yes. Hello! Welcome back to What's the Safe Word? I'm Am.
And I'm Jesbian. It's like lesbian with a J.
If you haven't guessed already, today we are going back in time. Oh, we can like go back in time?
Yeah.
And we're back. Because today we are talking about age play. I love that you're just so expressive whenever I say something new.
I was a kid once, believe it or not.
But before we get to today's topic, I want to give a little trigger warning.
Or fun size.
Fun size.
Trigger warning, I might turn 6. But it's not actually a 6, it's just regressive in my head. But we're gonna talk about things that include like age play at different ages, but still consensual adults. But we're gonna talk about those regressions back and forth and at those different numbers. But just trigger warnings, it might get a little weird if you're not used to it.
Game on. The toddlers. No, the twins nest? No.
And you know what? That's okay, because we're here to have uncomfortable conversations, because uncomfortable conversations help us have constructive conversations sometimes.
Because compassion and empathy and kindness are key.
That's a very eloquent 6-year-old talking right there.
I'm precocious.
Can you spell precocious?
Nope. I can spell engine.
Yeah? Mm-hmm. Go ahead. So Jesbian, what is age play?
Well, I feel like what's easier to ask is, what did you find out
Oh,
about
God.
age play on Wikipedia?
Well,
'Cause
first
I know
off-
that's what you did.
I did some research. First off, I found out that you created the little leather pride flag,
Correct.
which, of course, I find that out as I've already asked you to be on the show.
Correct.
Secondly, I was reading through some articles, and I kind of already know what age play generally is, but all of it kind of revolved around, it's a role play that people can put themselves in, which is not always sexual, but sometimes can be, depending on how tall of a tale, little,
Or fun-sized.
or fun size, sorry. But it's a type of role play with consenting adults that sometimes regress back into almost like childlike play.
That is a very good assumption with some good facts in there. Can I tighten it up a little bit?
Please do.
So, age play is basically people who go anywhere from the little stage, which is regressing role-playing age 1 to about 12, 11-ish. And then you have your middles who are about 11, 12, up until about like your 17 age, to like your bigs and caregivers who are basically like your adults that are 18 plus.
So you have littles and middles
And bigs.
that
make up the umbrella of age play. From that little umbrella, you have the different types that are regressive, role play, and what is called dark age play, but we normally just call it sexualized play.
Again, it's not always a sexual play.
And it's not always dark.
I mean, right now we're very well lit.
Yes.
Although, one question I do have, when I was looking into age play, yes, people regressed back a lot, but it was also talking about people that regressed forward.
Yes.
And sometimes like to be elderly in a way.
I'm old.
Is that also part of this umbrella of age play?
Yep. So when I was a little bit younger, yes, I was 18 plus. Gotta be 18 plus. Sometimes I switch into sort of the mommy role play caregiver side. And so for me, that's regressing up to be very adult in a manner that like in my regular self, I'm not a mommy.
Not the mama, not the mama.
I am not that responsible.
But we want to make sure that we're very clear that this is always with consenting adults and it's always a role play. No kids are involved in this, no actual children are involved. This is always a role play and a play between two people or more that have agreed and consented and had great conversations beforehand.
Oh yeah, negotiation is key. It's also really key not to negotiate while you're in your actual age play dynamic, because try negotiating with a 6-year-old. It doesn't go very well.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I'm negotiating with a Jesbian normal age or a Jesbian 6-year-old, and it's real throwing me off.
Doing great.
Oh, thank you. Do you want some more candy?
Candy for children? Open the children's candy. Oh, God, I knew it was happening.
Afterwards. As a reward.
Okay.
I'm learning. And for those of you that are too small-minded and can't wrap their mind around it,
This guy.
Oh, puns.
there's actual psychiatrists that can go on the record. In the book Forensic and Medical Legal Aspects of Sexual Crimes and Unusual Sexual Practices by psychologist Anil Agrawal, I'm sorry for butchering your name.
Anil Agrawal. And I'm 6.
You can't read, wait, are you a 6-year-old that can read? How dare you? Which describes age play as something people practice to experience purely regressive experiences at times to re-experience their childhood in a non-sexual way, or those that want to role-play consensually with doms who take control that can sometimes be sexual, and it's never connected with pedophilia.
No. People are very silly who think that.
I don't know why people, well, they jump on the thing that they don't understand.
Yeah, and then they decide that it's the same thing without actually doing the detailed work to figure out what it is.
And that's what we're doing right now, is giving you details so that you can be not only educated, but hopefully have a good time watching us bicker for God knows how long this video will be.
You're welcome. I was asked to do this. I didn't even instigate it at all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
On top of it, know that it can be role play or regression. And both of those can also be sexual or non-sexual.
You're a very astute 6-year-old.
I am. I learned it from Disneyland.
Focus.
Hello.
And honestly, I can kind of understand that. Because every once in a while, I mean, I could do without the stresses of being an adult, taxes, job, all that bullshit, editing down a YouTube channel once a week only to have people censor you and what you're doing. Regressing back to childhood, just being able to focus on fun and games, is a no-brainer.
If you have a baby, you can't be the baby.
So how did you get into it? I'm curious.
So what happened was, I went to Pride in San Francisco. I went to Leather Alley, which is at Pride in San Francisco. And then I realized that there was a whole dyke contingent community that were mommies. And that sounded really appealing.
So you'd never heard of the actual kink itself before that, or?
I mean, as we all do in the internet age, we find things out online. You look at little things online.
Little things online.
And on top of that, I never stopped, liking the little things.
Oh.
I liked sort of what was the appearance of and the aspect of doing things that were considered little. So coloring, going to Disneyland, little snacky foods, some of the Tokidoki Hello Kitty stuff.
I love Tokidoki.
I know, right? And realizing that in that moment when those things would trigger me into a different headspace of me just going super little and super excited, and everything else would just fall away. And then I realized that there were other people that like to do that also had mommies.
And a huge community of them too.
Yep, there's a lot of us.
Every time we ask for what do you guys want to see on the channel? DDLG is always one of them. Age play in some way.
Yeah.
We've done ABDL, but still there's a lot of age players into diapers that want to see even more on that.
Yeah.
But as you're experiencing and expressing how you got into it, I see lots of parallels with puppy play, for instance.
So many.
Yeah, and I think in a lot of ways, many BDSM practices are that way. You're exchanging something and getting into a headspace. So whipping and flogging, you are exchanging pain and pleasure and maybe even skills to get into that headspace. Findom, you're exchanging actual things there. And within something like age play, you're exchanging almost emotions and safeties and feelings. Yeah. And let's be honest, when it comes to littles and age play, I think everyone needs a timeout just to get some self-care and be told that you need to stop what you're doing, put down the phone, and just enjoy, build some Legos or take a nap. I could use a nap or 5.
That's capitalism for you, taking away your happiness.
Oh God. And back to littles. Would you say that littles have a short temper?
Giggling on the inside, and sometimes, yes.
Oh.
And we're very much in our little headspace, but sometimes that means the littlest thing can hit us the wrong way sometimes.
So I think this is a good part to kind of go through the terminology, or at least some different terms that exist within age play and littles. Because even myself, who's kind of aware of the community, I learned a bunch of stuff when I was researching. So for instance, like CGL, which is caregivers and littles. DDLG, which is daddy dom little girl. There are littles, of course, which are one classification of age players. And then middle, but middle I didn't quite understand. Can you explain middle for me?
Yeah, right here in my encyclopedia. So,
I see it.
as you can see.
I can totally see it.
As you can see.
Yeah, I see it.
Can you see it? Can you see it?
Right
Yeah, right there. Middles are age players who are between the little and the big ages. They're the type of age players. I'm just.
Oh, yeah, it's heavy.
It's so heavy.
Here, actually, I can hold on to it for you.
Okay,
Yeah, there you go, okay.
Okay, great. Thank you. So these age players particularly like to toe the line between being sort of in a little's headspace but being old enough to still be responsible to do things.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so, little, what age? Like
You gotta
what?
put it down.
Oh. So what's the age range for littles?
So littles normally will age anywhere from like ABDL age, which has their own category, which is up till 2, and then 2 normally up until about that 11, 12 age before they get to the tweens. And then once you sort of hit the tweens, that's sort of the middle.
Okay.
And then that goes up to about the 17 age before it's like sort of the 18 and older adult, which is normally known as the caregiver or the bigs.
Wow.
I do the caregiver or the bigs because sometimes, like bigs, they're just really littles but with more responsibility.
Isn't that the truth?
Daddies, have you ever noticed? They don't like to give rules.
Oh, I know. I've got a daddy. He's really just a big little.
Sure, you can have a cupcake and I'll have 3 more.
Along with those terms, caretaker showed up a lot.
Caretaker.
So what's the
yes.
difference between like a caretaker and someone who's like a big, who's like the dom?
So the caretaker role is also kind of like that nurturer. And in that role, you can be sort of the big age range, but sometimes some middles are also caretakers because they're like the big sisters or the big brothers that look after you.
Talk about BioShock. Do you get that?
No.
No?
That one's
Okay.
above my head.
Someone will get that.
I'm
Anyway,
still
sorry,
6.
continue. Okay.
Also, a lot of these terms that you're asking about are actually really clearly defined in Penny Barber's handbook for age players.
Which is a great resource.
Yeah, Penny Barber's super amazing.
Actually, it's right here in this book. What other terms am I not getting though? Because I am no expert.
Let's see. So we did regressive role play and sexualized play, which is sometimes known as dark age play, but that sort of gives it a stigmatism. So we're trying to work our way from it. But
We are seeing past that stigmatism
yes.
of dark age play. So, thank you.
He's a good puppy. There's also other terminology that people don't know, which is also like the intersections. So like leather little,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
So people don't really understand that the leather community and the age play community actually intersect. Like when I tell people that and I teach a class, they go, whoa.
What other intersections exist?
So there's also little handler.
Okay, for puppies.
Puppies, people don't realize that littles can be handlers to puppies. Actually like the best caregivers because they are so into like making sure that their puppy, which is like their entire world, gets every single possible thing that they could need. Because it's their first like responsibility caring for a living thing.
That is really precious.
Okay, you got a box, you got a blanket, you got water, you got snacks, we'll give you cucumbers so you have enough hydration. Same with ponies.
And so within that, there's just there's like infinite number of
Infinite
intersections. Whether it's furries, puppies, ponies, littles, food, people into food,
Oh my God,
people
so
into
much
feet,
food play.
people into.
I just taught a class on that. Yeah, I stuffed a salami in someone's hoo-ha.
Yeah.
And
that
dollification
makes
is
sense.
the thing.
That also makes sense. See, all these kinks just
Love it.
tangent off each other and make their own wonderful communities, and then just all play together, which I love. So this is one of the bigger questions: is what do littles do? A lot of people wanted to know what littles do, and I think that that's a very open-ended question. Not being part of the community, but I could imagine that there's so many different things you could do as a little, depending on what age you are and play, and what you're into. Like for instance, I feel like if I were a little, I'd be really into like Marvel superheroes and Disneyland.
I understood that reference.
But like, what do you enjoy?
I mean, Disneyland. The thing about what littles are into, that can totally look absolutely different depending on age, depending on sort of area, and also some cultural background stuff. So like, my little is all about like Disneyland stuff because it's accessible. That's like what I grew up with. Also like baking is a huge thing.
It's one of my favorites.
Because it's like messy and playful and you can like color outside the line. Just like put it in some. I've seen littles who are very like studious and they like reading their like comic books and they're like, they like to write things and or to draw and it's like a focus time for them.
But what about the person that is helping to enact what's happening?
100%. So on the flip side of it, like when I do switch into mommy mode or into middling mode, I get a lot of satisfaction out of like the guiding and growth portion, but also like when I have someone who's on the S side of the slash with me, when they go into little space, then my protocol on the DS side can also level down. So you just kind of turn that volume notch a little bit down where you're still in that dynamic, but things are more relaxed and you're able to sort of have a companionship role.
And so like fluctuating and flexible too. I think that's the biggest takeaway from age play is it's fun.
Because everyone says leather is such serious business.
So serious.
So serious.
Can you give me your best leather, sir? Serious leather, sir?
Little girl, you get off that bench right now. I don't wanna.
To which you started jumping.
Yep. Because you can't tell me what to do because you're not my dad.
What are some misconceptions though? Because that is a very slippery slope, I think, with the people that are naysayers, is like they just jump the gun and totally just have so many misconceptions. What are some that you tend to run into?
Number one, that littles cannot consent.
Ooh,
But we can
absolutely.
when we are in our full grown adult headspace and we have consented pre-dynamic or pre-play. But littles, I feel like, take it a little bit more seriously because you're sort of playing with like regressive and mind stuff, which is sometimes super landminey.
Fair.
Like you can pull a trigger really easily without knowing that it was there.
Okay, what are some other misconceptions?
That littles can't be tops and bigs can't be bottoms.
Ooh.
I'm a top girl. The biggest one, which is why I created a class about it, is that littles cannot be service oriented.
Oh, no, absolutely they can.
Super service oriented.
They want to do things to be praised and told how good they're doing, right?
They have little like gold hearts that like live in here and they just want to be the best little helpers and like, you know, they just want to do good in the world. Like, I don't know.
You're doing so much good. You're doing so much good. Candy, remember that candy's over there for you
I
once we're
have
done.
not forgotten.
Oh. That felt a little threatening. Littles can be tops.
Very much so. I'm a top.
What other misconceptions exist, Jesbian?
That littles just run around a dungeon and don't understand rules and protocol.
Which is not the case, because they totally understand the rules and protocols that they're breaking. They're just intentionally breaking it to really, drive home sometimes that they're in charge.
Consensually, yes.
Yeah, consensually, of course.
Consensually, yes. I'm mostly talking about like when back in the day in dungeons we were told that we weren't allowed to be in dungeon spaces because we didn't fit into the leather umbrella, and on top of it that like we go into a headspace where is regressive and is like a 6-year-old, and like how does a 6-year-old like follow the rules of a dungeon, and how can you be spatially aware, which we totally can be. Just because we're regressive doesn't mean that we still don't have boundaries around our own play. And I also think that they don't know how to react to it because it triggers something in their own head. And so I tell people, if you have a problem with this, then that means you kind of need to work on that in your own head. That's not about me. That's about you, friend. And then the final one I think is, that like littles are always happy and fun, but like I've done some very dark scenes where like I tied a stuffy up to a cross, and then like I cut it down the middle, and I took out the stuffing, and then I made like the other stuffy eat it, and then like I put like different like guts inside of the.
I'm gonna give you the candy.
Yeah.
You're gonna get it.
I'm just giving you the point.
Yeah, no, I got
Okay,
it.
great.
I got it. Look at the time. Well, that's all we have time for today on What's the Safe Word. Before I get play murdered.
You're very pretty, though.
Jesbian, do you have any last minute words, any takeaways, anywhere that people can go if they want to find out more information on littles?
More information on Littles. So I know that we mentioned Penny Berber, super amazing, wrote 2 handbooks. And then the other one is my favorite YouTuber, Sassafras. Oh my God, so amazing. So I would say that you can also do the littlescouts.com, which has different links to different scout troops in the U.S.
And we'll have all of those books, resources, people, and YouTube channels linked down below if you want to learn more. But most importantly, thank you for coming on, Jesbian.
Thanks.
I really appreciate your insight, your help, your definitions, your threats. But there's one last thing that we have to do. Ready? What?
Am I gonna get hit?
No, I would never. So, the guest always gets to give a safe word for the day. So today's safe word, Jesbian, which you get to choose, is...
Cupcakes.
Because the cake is a lie. I mean, you don't get the reference because you're 6, but do you like video games?
I do, but I'm very selective.
Okay. Anyway, this has been What's the Safe Word. If you guys enjoyed this conversation, you can leave a like down below. If you have other questions on age play, you can leave it in the comments. Do you have any last minute words, Jessie, before we go?
Be kind to yourself.
Oh.
And be kind to others. And remember that even if, like, you may not get it, don't yuck someone's yum. It's still consensual.
And we'll see you guys next time on What's the Safe Word. Bye! And, as promised, are you ready? We're gonna make it rain.
Make it rain, Candy.
You're okay, no.
Candy!
Who has to clean? Do I have to clean this up?
I mean, I don't know. I'm gonna eat it all.
God damn it.